It all starts with a boy sneaking down a dark school hallway. He's looking super cautious while creeping through the empty place. Getting closer to a door, he spots the sign for the teacher's lounge. Peeking through the crack, our MC figures the emergency spare key has got to be stashed in there. Walking into the pitch black room, he notices it's completely empty. Suddenly, the sound of a keyboard typing all by itself echoes through the room. Spooked by the creepy vibe, he wonders if the PC is haunted and questions where the heck the key could be. Just then, the monitor lights up on its own with an intense red glow, catching his attention. The screen shows a mysterious message warning him that the clue is on the computer. Getting tense, he steps closer to the monitor, bathed in the red light while the typing sounds keep going. Having a major bad feeling about this whole thing, the guy stares at the screen. The PC keeps glowing super bright in the middle of the dark room. Standing right in front of the monitor, he spots something that puts him on high alert. The text switches to a frantic spam, threatening that if Lee Hyen keeps avoiding it and running away, he's gonna get a one-way ticket to the lobby. Completely shook, he realizes the name written there is his own. At that moment, Lee Hyen figures out he walked right into a trap. The whole setup around him looks exactly like an old-school horror game. It's the kind of pixelated title any fan of the genre has played at least once. Frustrated, he complains about being stuck in a challenge he's never played and has zero guides for. Then, the scene shifts, showing the student Lee Hyen in the real world, looking up a walkthrough in front of his PC while munching on a snack. Being a massive horror fan, he's hunting for tips for the game he's currently tackling. Even with the basic graphics, our guy admits he usually gets super immersed in the vibe of these titles. The weird and spooky atmosphere of classic games really glues him to his chair. Suddenly, a notification sound interrupts his gaming session. He thinks it's weird to get an email at that time of the morning. Moving the mouse, he decides to check out what's up. Reading the message, he's totally blown away. Not believing his luck, he confirms they actually sent him the file. The email contains the horror game that is known as an absolute legend among gamers. The craziest part is that this title has zero screenshots or leftover files anywhere on the internet. As soon as he lays eyes on the file, he eagerly clicks to download it. The executable download kicks off instantly on his screen, but the exact second the game boots up, his vision goes pitch black. When he gets his senses back, the student realizes he woke up in the middle of the night inside a classroom. Super confused by the whole school vibe, he stares at the clock on the wall. Sitting at the desk, he tries to wrap his head around why he's at school, when just a minute ago he was in his own room. Putting a hand to his head, he remembers he had an exceptionally exhausting day. The mental drain had been heavy over the last few hours. Standing up slowly, he guesses he just fell asleep during math class. Walking through the dark room, he thinks it's wild that nobody woke him up to go home. Trying to open the door, he notices it's locked from the outside. Out of nowhere, a blue light pops up in front of him with a loud beep. Startled by the sudden pop-up panel, he steps back. The holographic window announces the start of the tutorial, giving him a time limit to escape the room or face a permanent game over. Not taking the threat seriously, our MC concludes he spent way too much time gaming and is just having a lucid nightmare. Rolling with the weird situation, Lee Hyen decides to just enjoy the fact he's dreaming about video games. He decides to keep his cool and look for clues around the room like in a classic escape room game. Opening the teacher's desk drawer, he finds absolutely nothing useful. The system panel quickly hits him with a notification that both the desk and the lockers are totally empty. Walking through the desks, he's absolutely sure there's gotta be a hidden clue around there somewhere. Right then, a familiar sparkle catches his eye at the back of the room. Hyped about actually finding something, he crouches down to grab the item. The system confirms he snagged a flashlight, while our guy chuckles at how classic these items are. Knowing the mechanics inside out, he knows shiny spots always hand over key items or puzzle hints. Along with the flashlight, our boy picks up a crumpled piece of paper with the numbers 0, 1, 3, and 4. Holding the note in the dark, he wonders if that's a padlock combo. Since the front door locks from the inside, he instantly figures out his next move. But suddenly, a shift in the vibe leaves him totally shook. The system panel pops up warning him that the timer just hit 0 out of nowhere. Completely confused by the timer, he hears the sound of the door unlocking, and a shadowy figure asks him what he's doing there at this hour. Still kinda dizzy, Lee Hyun tries to figure out who's at the door. The heavy footsteps of the guy echo across the dark classroom floor, shining the flashlight on the silhouette. He asks if it's the school security guard. Showing its face, the grotesque and twisted creature asks what time he thinks it is, leaving our guy frozen in place. The monster guard's creepy eye locks right onto the student. With a quick attack, the creature bonks Lee Hyun on the head, letting him know he definitely shouldn't be at school. Right after that, the classic red wasted screen pops up on the system, announcing a respawn at the last checkpoint. Waking up with a jump, the guy coughs hard while trying to catch his breath. Panting, he tries to figure out if he just woke up from a nightmare. Pretty freaked out by the pain he just felt. The same holographic tutorial window shows up again, demanding he escape the room. Staring at the floating message, he realizes the objective is exactly the same as before. The timer is locked at exactly 10 minutes. Remembering the brutal reset he got from the creature, it finally clicks that this isn't just some harmless dream. Panicking, he rushes to the door and tries punching in the numbers he found earlier into the padlock. The lock doesn't budge, and our MC curses at the situation, totally frustrated that the code is a bust. Completely freaking out, he wonders if he's going to get sent back to the lobby again if the timer runs out like that. The guy wonders if he's going to be stuck in an infinite loop of getting clapped until he manages to escape. Trying to keep it together, Lee Hyun takes a deep breath and tells himself to chill out. With that, he decides to loot the area again, figuring he must have missed something major during his first sweep. Opening another locker and seeing it's empty, the student lets out a groan, feeling the pressure spiking. But something finally catches his eye when he notices the sticker on it reading the number 10,314. Right away, he realizes that name written on the paper sounded super familiar. Remembering the mechanics from before, our guy decides to pop open his inventory to take a look. Staring at the floating window, he checks out his loot while trying to connect the dots. Sitting right in there is the recorder flute he found earlier, and its description shows the exact same name he just saw. Holding the musical instrument, Lee Hyun figures it isn't just junk loot, and that he probably needs to combine it with something else. With that, he turns to the bulletin board looking for more instructions on what to do. Pinned to the board is a notice about the practical music exam and how to place your fingers on the recorder. Finally getting the puzzle, the student grips the item, super confident he just cracked the code. Quickly, he starts placing his fingers over the holes in the exact order the paper showed. Following the numbers 0, 1, 3, and 4, he plays the flute and finds out the combo makes a specific musical note. The second the sound drops, the door's padlock starts glowing, proving his theory right. The lock pops open, and our guy just stands there staring at the newly opened path. Still on edge, he wonders if that was really all it took. The padlock hits the floor with a metallic clank, completely clearing the exit. Instantly, a blue notification pops up announcing the tutorial was totally cleared. Opening the door, he's greeted by the school's long, creepy, pitch-black hallway. The moment he steps out of the room, the guy feels the whole vibe of the place get way heavier. Then, the panel warns him that the real story is finally about to kick off. The first main quest drops, demanding he escape the school before sunrise, or else he's gonna face the worst possible outcome. Reading about the awful penalty, the student gulps, fully aware of the real danger he's in. But before he can even process the whole thing, another holographic screen pops right in his face. The panel shows his profile, revealing he's got a special personality trait focused on keeping his cool. The description explains that watching horror movies gave him serious fear resistance, letting him bounce back from jump scares super fast. Even reading that, Lee Hyun seriously doubts if this buff is actually working, considering he thinks this place is crazy terrifying. Taking his first step into the hall, he tries to keep his ears open for any sus noises. Out of nowhere, an intense red glow lights up the staircase, grabbing his attention and throwing him into maximum alert. Right away, the guy recognizes that creepy figure is the exact same security guard that jumped him before. The system blares an alert saying the main entrance is a restricted zone and trespassing means serious penalties. With the intrusion detected, the creature charges at him with zero chill. Panicking, the student sprints as fast as he can toward the front gate. Knowing he's out of options, he just focuses on touching the door before getting caught. Grabbing the handle, he notices the sign on the glass, making it super clear the exit is blocked. Too late, the nightmare creature is right on his 6, ready to strike. With zero chance to block, our boy gets absolutely wrecked by a massive hit. The monster glares at him with some seriously terrifying rage. Totally in shock, the student feels his vision fade out as the pain takes over. The dreaded game over screen pops up in red, confirming he didn't make it out of that encounter. Right after, the system lets him know it's reloading from the last save point. Respawning back inside the classroom, Lee Hyun complains like crazy, wondering if this game is even possible to beat. Starting from scratch, he watches the timer start ticking down all over again. Retracing his steps, the guy realizes how the structure of this whole challenge plays exactly like a classic retro game. Being trapped in a hostile zone reminds him of other spooky maps he's cleared before. He even compares his current nightmare to those high-stress chase sequences in haunted galleries. Even knowing what's coming, running into the twisted guard ends up being a scripted event in the restricted areas. To avoid getting sent back to the lobby, he realizes his main objective now is to play it super stealthy. Hiding in the shadows, he watches the creature patrol the floor below. Hugging his knees, the student tries to control his breathing so he doesn't get spotted no matter what. As soon as the footsteps fade out, he peeks around the corner, making sure the coast is clear. Super carefully, the guy sneaks down the stairs without making a sound, dodging the guard's patrol route. Finally, in a safer spot, he lets out a massive sigh, flicking on his flashlight. Checking his options, he figures the teacher's lounge is the next obvious spot to loot, exactly like in his nightmare from earlier. Just then, a weird glow on the floor catches his eye, leading the way. Picking up the item, he finds out he now needs to unlock the art room to keep moving forward. Sighing, Lee Hyun is 100% sure the system isn't gonna make this easy for him. Stepping into the room, he's met with total chaos and notices the place looks super suspiciously staged. Getting more and more tense, the guy mentions how wandering around alone is starting to get seriously claustrophobic. On the floor, a knocked-over bucket is spilling some red liquid that looks way too much like paint. Flashing his light in the corners, he spots a plaster bust that looks way too realistic, sending a shiver right down his spine. Crouching down, the student searches through the junk on the floor, but finds absolutely zero useful loot. Suddenly, that classic key item sparkle pops up over a notebook. Super relieved, he picks up the book thinking he finally scored a save point. But the panel hits him with a big nope, saying he needs ink to actually record his progress. Reading the prompt, the boy lets out a huge sigh of pure frustration, gripping the diary tight. Knowing it's never that easy, he goes back to searching the room for the required crafting material. Walking up to the wall, the student notices a bunch of framed paintings hanging there. Among the artwork, a portrait of a mysterious girl instantly catches his eye. Curious about the piece, he steps closer, thinking it's wild that someone framed a drawing of a random student. Without even thinking, the guy reaches out to touch the canvas, but, in total jump scare fashion, the girl's eyes in the painting glow super bright, staring right back at him. Completely freaked out by the painting's glare, Lee Hyun lets out a terrified yell while stumbling backward. Staring at the frame from a distance, he realizes the image actually moved and wonders if he's dealing with some student's ghost. But in a flash, the girl's spirit zooms right out of the frame, phasing straight through our guy. Catching his breath, the student realizes that was actually a window and tries to figure out who the heck that girl was. Dead silence takes over the room while he tries to process the massive jump scare he just caught. Staring into the pitch black outside, the dude wonders if the spirit is also roaming the school halls. With that, he rushes out of the room, thinking the ghost might have some lore drops about what's going on here. Hitting the empty hallway, he stops dead in his tracks when there's zero sign of anyone. Totally surprised by how fast she dipped, Lee Hyun thinks it's crazy the girl is already out of sight. Then it finally clicks, and he figures the chick in the painting definitely wasn't a normal NPC. Out of nowhere, that familiar key item sparkle flashes right behind him, catching his eye in the dark. Crouching in the dark hallway, he scoops up the item, and the system confirms he got some black ink for the diary. Holding the bottle, the student is totally sketched out to feel that the glass is still pretty warm. Remembering that creepy face from before, he guesses the ghost totally dropped that item on purpose. Taking the win, the guy opens the blue panel and decides to quick save his progress just to be safe. The system window blinks, confirming the save and letting him know he can respawn from here if things go south. Walking down the hall, the guy checks out the other locked rooms, still wondering where that spirit wandered off to. Out of nowhere, the vibe shifts instantly, putting the student in a state of pure shock and high alert. Staring at a painting on the wall, he's stunned to see the image of the Brontë family totally warped. Some thick, red gooey stuff drips down the frame, making the whole area feel heavy and terrifying. Creepy text pops up on the wall warning that an imposter is hiding among them and giving him a quest to defeat it. The oppressive message just keeps spamming, pushing the high-stakes mission to find and take out the fake. Facepalming, Lee Hyeon complains about how terrible the game's timing is to drop a brand new puzzle on him. Getting closer to the artwork, he checks out the clues where Charlotte vouches for Emily's relation, and Emily backs up Anne's origins. Meanwhile, Elizabeth accuses either Anne or Charlotte of capping, while Anne defends the honesty of the other two sisters. Analyzing the cross-reference quotes, the student breathes a sigh of relief, thinking this logic puzzle is actually going to be a breeze. But with zero warning, the painting flashes an evil glow and launches a ruthless attack on the off-guard MC. Panicking against the clock, he completely zones in on crunching the math on who's lying while literally dodging for his life. Connecting the dots at light speed, the guy figures that if Anne is telling the truth, the others gotta be honest too. Just using process of elimination, he realizes Elizabeth is definitely the sus one. He just needs to test his theory. Out of time to overthink it, Lee Hyeon yells out that Elizabeth is the fake in the group. Instantly, the boss music stops, and the painting goes back to dead silence in the dark hallway. But then, the system screen flashes a creepy warning, saying the imposter survived his choice. Totally freaking out over the epic fail, the student asks why the heck his answer was wrong. Just then, creepy red hands drop from the ceiling, grabbing him hard with zero chance to parry. The mystery force smacks him right in the head, landing a critical hit that knocks him out cold instantly. Feeling an insane amount of pain, the guy's vision fades to black as he hits another tragic game over. His character model goes totally limp, left dangling in the air by the angry spirit haunting this cursed hallway. The absolute brutality of the scene makes it super clear that failing puzzles in this school has a ridiculously high penalty. One of his flip-flops drops quietly onto the cold floor, making his defeat in front of the painting look super depressing. The classic red game over notification pops up to confirm he totally failed the painting's vibe check. Right after, the system reloads his last save file, and the student's lost shoe magically spawns back on the floor safe and sound. Staring at the blue panel on the door, Lee Hyeon lets out a massive sigh, realizing he respawned at the art room checkpoint. Hand on his chest, he's intensely thankful he had the big brain idea to save his game a few minutes ago. Turning back to face the dark hallway, the guy is already trying to math out who the liar is if it's not Elizabeth. Standing right back in front of the creepy puzzle, he admits to himself that the logic makes absolutely zero sense. Thinking fast, the student realizes that if the woman's statement is true, then mathematically another sister has to be the fake. Rubbing his chin in gamer focus mode, the guy tries to plug in the new theory to crack this trap's real answer. Seeing the spooky aura around the frame start acting up again, he nervously wonders if he missed some hidden troll mechanic. Putting all his faith in his save point, Lee Hyeon screams at the top of his lungs, accusing Charlotte of being the imposter. The defeat screen flashes instantly, and the game hits the reset button while our guy spawns, looking totally defeated against the wall. Frustrated by the back-to-back losses, he gets mad and just guesses it has to be Anne on a 50-50 coin toss. Failing for the third time in a row, the guy respawns on his knees, completely humiliated by how hard this logic puzzle is. Staying stubborn, he points at the painting again with max confidence, declaring that Emily is the only one left. Catching another penalty for the wrong answer, the system kicks him back to the start, dropping him on the floor in pure misery. Filled with major rage quit energy, the student tries to figure out why literally all of his answers were totally wrong. Backing away from the puzzle in defeat, he questions what on earth he's supposed to do since he's out of names to guess. Stomping across the dark floor, the dude starts wondering if the game wants him to pick two people at the same time. Out of nowhere, his foot kicks a metal object that clanks on the floor, totally interrupting his big brain moment. Shining his light on it, he spots a super sharp palette knife that the system instantly drops into his inventory. Gripping the dangerous tool, the MC stares at the painting in shock as he reads the system prompt about tearing the canvas. remembering the exact phrasing of the riddle. It finally clicks that his logic was actually totally right the whole time. Focusing on the part that told him to eliminate the target, the student realizes his only mistake was the method he used to solve it. Without a second thought, he charges the frame with zero chill, swinging the knife to attack Elizabeth directly on the canvas. The sharp blade stabs right through the liar's face in the painting, making a dark, creepy liquid squirt out of the art itself. Instantly, Emily's chill expression twists into a gross, twisted face, reacting to the attack in a totally bizarre way. Hyped up on adrenaline, the guy starts spamming fast, critical hits against the other faces in absolute gamer rage mode. Ignoring the terrifying sound effects blasting from the torn canvas, he stays totally focused on wrecking the fake NPCs in there. The old canvas rips apart with every heavy strike, splashing even more of that dark sludge all over the school floor. With his perfect hits, the illusions trapped in the artwork scream out as our MC absolutely claps them with zero mercy. Ripping through the last layer of the fake painting, a green aura pops up, revealing a creepy silhouette hiding in the original background. Panting after the physical spamming, Lee Hyun takes a few steps back to admire the insane damage his risky strat just caused. The system updates the item lore, dropping the tragic backstory of the Brontë brother who erased his own character model from the family portrait. Getting the family drama, the student figures out that the Elizabeth NPC basically hijacked the spot of the poor forgotten brother. Totally drained, he goes back to walking down the hall, sighing over how many times he threw on what was actually an easy puzzle. The blue notification pops up mid-air, letting him know the storage room door is finally unlocked. The loud creak of the hinge puts our MC on edge as he steps into the room. Exploring the dark area with his flashlight, he spots shelves packed with plaster busts, and thinks the whole setup is super weird. Finding the sculptures seriously creepy, he decides to avoid eye contact and keep his focus locked on the walls. Just then, a shiny glare on a table catches his eye. Stepping up, the student grabs the paper, which the system flags as a receipt. Reading the art supply list, he gets a side quest to inventory check the storage room to see if the stock adds up. To clear it, the boy starts counting every single plaster head chilling around the room. Finishing the count, he's shook to realize there's exactly one more statue than what the paper says. Nearby, he spots a glowing hammer and tosses it straight into his inventory. Inspecting the beat-up, cracked tool, he figures the weapon has exactly one durability point left before it shatters. Braining the puzzle, the guy understands that one of those 10 statues is a fake, but he's got to figure out which one is the imposter. Trying to fish for a clue, he pokes one of the sculpture's faces with the hammer's handle to check its hitbox. Dead silence rules the dark storage room, with zero reaction from the prop. Frustrated about being stuck, the student decides he's overthinking it and turns all the busts to face the wall before trying a new strat. But when he places his hand on the head of one of the statues, he notices a weird glitch. Our MC realizes the surface is actually warm, giving off body heat that is completely different from the cold plaster he touched before. Sliding his fingers across the statue's face, he is 100% sure he found his target. Without hesitating, Lee Hyun delivers an absolute critical smash to the fake head. Thanks to the heavy impact, the busted old tool shatters completely into a bunch of pieces. The student steps back, feeling the recoil from the heavy strike. The plaster shell breaks apart, exposing a gross, fleshy inside with something shiny hidden in the middle. Sighing with relief for getting the puzzle right, he immediately gets grossed out by the disgusting spot the devs hid the loot in. Hyping himself up, he lets out a scream of pure frustration. Shoving his hand into that nasty squishy mess, the dude curses non-stop while trying to fish the item out. Finally, he yanks out the object covered in dark slime, and the system confirms he got the library key. Wiping his gross hand, the boy remembers the next objective is right next to the art room, and prays he doesn't aggro the guard on the way there. Using his shiny new key, he unlocks the double doors without a hitch. Walking in slowly, he mentally preps himself, fully expecting some crazy bookshelf puzzle. But taking a look around, the student is totally stunned by the insane size of the aisles packed with massive shelves. Sneaking quietly through the shelves, he makes his way through the dead, silent area. Suddenly, the guy spots a female student casually flipping through a book, under the moonlight shining through the window. Taking a closer look, he realizes it's the exact same mystery girl from the painting he saw in the art room. Noticing him lurking, the girl asks what the heck he's spying on. Closing the book, she turns around to face him, looking totally chill and unbothered. Super awkward. Lee Hyun tries to say hey, all while wondering if she's even a real NPC since she's just reading casually with a monster on the loose. Just then, his eyes lock onto the name tag on her uniform, dropping the name Jin Daeon. Instantly, his brain connects the name to the memo about the practical recorder exam he read earlier. A super cringe memory of when he used the musical instrument flashes through his mind. Face palming, the student goes into total shock, realizing he put his mouth on the flute that belonged to her. Blushing bright red, he panics trying to explain he didn't do it on purpose, while the girl just calls him a creep for overreacting. Absolutely embarrassed, he stutters, saying it's totally not like that. Cutting the small talk, Jin Daeon steps forward and drops the bomb that she was actually waiting for him. The sudden confession catches our guy totally off guard. Pointing at his chest, the student reads his name tag out loud, confirming Lee Hyun's identity. Getting right up in his face, the girl warns him to gear up if he doesn't want to hit a game over, since this school doesn't go easy on noobs. The student gets pretty confused by how serious she sounds all of a sudden. Out of nowhere, a holographic dialogue tree pops up floating right between them. Reading his dialogue options, the boy decides to ask who exactly she is. Flashing a mysterious smirk, she puts a finger to her lips and says it's a secret. Grabbing him by the tie, the girl pulls him even closer, promising she has zero intention of hurting him. Whispering right in his ear, she tells him not to sweat it. Freaking out over the lack of personal space, Lee Hyun steps back yelling to know what she's doing, while the girl just keeps trolling and calling him a creep. Without giving him time to respond, she tosses a pair of keys right at him. With a clumsy reflex save, the student manages to catch the items mid-air. The blue panel confirms he picked up keys number 1 and 2, while he asks what they're actually for. Turning her back, Jin Daeon tells him to follow her, promising to show him something important. Walking together through the halls, she drops some lore, explaining that the school's layout completely resets every time the sun comes up. Passing through a massive hall, the girl reveals that the only way to escape is by clearing every single hidden puzzle, admitting she also got stuck here and has been the only player around ever since. Hearing her solo run story, the guy gets curious and asks how long she's been hard stuck in the school. The girl's footsteps stop dead in the middle of the dark hallway. With a totally straight face, she casually drops that it's been 10 years. The insane plot twist makes Lee Hyun's eyes pop, barely believing what he just heard. Pointing straight ahead, the girl asks if he knows why she's been locked here for a whole decade. They both stand there staring at a blocked path at the very back of the library. Right above the double doors, a sign says the exit will only unlock when 2 become 1. Sighing, Jin Daeon admits she could never figure out this super basic puzzle. The student reads the sign again to try and math out the logic behind the roadblock. Looking at the 2 keys in his hand, he thinks the puzzle seems way too simple. The guy has a massive light bulb moment, realizing the girl has been stuck here just because the puzzle literally required a co-op partner. Walking up to the door, he hands one of the keys over to the girl and suggests they turn them together on 3. Putting the keys into the locks at the exact same time, they hear the satisfying metallic click. The door finally budges, and the girl opens it just a crack to peek at the next zone. Stepping into the new, lit-up room, she says she's super relieved the path finally opened just because they teamed up. Watching the girl walk past, the student feels incredibly bad that she spent 10 years camping that door just because she didn't have a duo. Right after opening the door, Jin Daeon casually tosses an item at the guy, telling him to catch, while Lee Hyun gets a mini jump scare from the sudden move. Holding the folded paper, the student has no clue what kind of loot he just got and asks what it is. Unfolding the paper, he sees a super childish doodle praising his work, and the system quietly confirms that it's the girl's special reward item. Totally underwhelmed, our guy thinks it's ridiculous she's calling this scribble a reward, but she proudly explains she crafted it exclusively for whoever helped her with the door. Not caring about his salty reaction, Jin Daeon turns toward the new room looking super mysterious and invites him inside. Her vibe is giving off a really chill, confident, and slightly sus energy about what's coming next. Feeling kinda awkward, our MC just agrees with a little stutter and follows her in. Walking in, he notices the archive room is way bigger than he thought, packed with boxes and books, and realizes both hallway doors actually led to the same room. Suddenly, the door slams shut right behind him, throwing the student into high alert mode. He nervously points out that the exit just locked itself, and the girl instantly guesses the devs spawned a new puzzle for them in there. Agreeing with her, Lee Hyun steps to the middle of the room and bumps into an invisible wall, getting his duo's attention. Palms flat against the air, he explains in shock that there's a totally transparent barrier slicing the room exactly in half. Just then, a familiar sparkle catches his eye in the middle of a massive pile of books, making the guy wonder if he scored some good loot. When he picks up the red cover book, a creepy system warning pops up silently, saying the player will face a terrible end if they dare to open it. Absolutely terrified, the student thinks the item is straight garbage and complains that this whole setup is so weird he doesn't even know where to start looting. Seeing him hesitate, Jin Dae-in asks why he's staring at an item he can't even read and tells him to check out the clue she found. She holds up a piece of paper dropping the exact puzzle prompt, telling the two players to stand facing each other. Repeating the phrase while thinking, Lee Hyun stashes the cursed book in his inventory, starting to suspect it wasn't a real clue anyway. Then he suggests they just literally stand face to face, but the girl shoots down the idea, pointing out that if it were that easy, the puzzle would have cleared while they were chatting. While they argue, the system quietly confirms the cursed item was safely stored. Feeling lazy about scavenging, Jin Dae-in whines that she doesn't want to loot anymore. But something in the background catches our guy's eye again. He asks her not to throw and to take a good look at the shelves, but the girl just grumbles, swearing her side is completely looted and clue-free. Ignoring her complaining, the student focuses on the environment around his partner, catching a major detail. Looking behind him, he notices a red armchair on his side of the room, and points out they both have the exact same piece of furniture. Walking through the clutter, he confirms the design and placement of the chair and the vase are copy, pasted from her area, admitting the trash piles made him miss it earlier. Taking advantage of his find, Jin Dae-in drops onto the comfy chair holding a rose, joking that this spot feels like an awesome vacation resort. Watching her slack off in dead silence, the guy's gamer brain starts connecting the map details. Checking everything carefully, he realizes the number of shelves, the furniture placement, and even where the paintings hang match up perfectly on both halves. It finally clicks, and he figures the prompt about facing each other actually means the entire room has to be totally symmetrical. Hyped, he announces out loud that symmetry is the key to the puzzle, admitting to himself he only missed the obvious answer because she was distracting him. Analyzing the room's blueprint, the student explains the whole map was designed to be a perfect mirror reflection, making total sense with the clue. Holding the hint again, he concludes their quest is to clean up all the junk so both sides look exactly identical to trigger the door. Full of motivation, Lee Hyun pumps his fist, pumped about his big brain deduction that the room halves need to reflect each other. Backing up her partner's hype theory, the girl claps her hands to show some support, with a sarcastic and amused smirk. Jin Dae-in praises his high IQ, but hits him with the reality that he's gonna have to carry all the heavy lifting. Totally blindsided by her laziness, he freezes up, unable to believe she plans on going AFK while he does all the work. Sprinting back and forth like crazy carrying super heavy stacks of books, the student lets out a groan of absolute zero stamina, salty and sweating bullets. He rants to himself, trying to understand why he always gets stuck playing the pack mule in this game. Putting his back into it, the guy finally slots the last set of encyclopedias into the wooden shelf. Exhausted but winning, he throws his arms up, celebrating that he perfectly sorted his entire side of the barrier. Giving a massive stretch, he admits the grinding took way longer than he expected, while his partner stretches on the chair like she actually did something. Walking up to the glass wall, the guy holds out a bouquet of red roses toward her, leaving the girl totally confused by the flex. The shiny flowers sway a bit, making their bright petals pop in the dark room. Sticking to the puzzle logic, he explains her vase only had one flower, so they needed to match the exact item count to get perfect symmetry. Hearing the student's careful explanation, Jin Dae-in covers her mouth, totally blown away by the surprise move. Snapping out of her shock, the girl slowly reaches out to accept the flower arrangement he handed over. Holding the roses super gently, she blushes a little and gives a genuine thank you. Admitting it's been ages since she got real flowers, Turning her face away because of the cute moment, she quickly says she's gonna put them in the vase, leaving our guy kinda confused, but he just rolls with her rush, scratching his head trying to figure out her mood swing. He just sighs and thinks about how this girl manages to keep him on edge with literally every reaction. With both halves of the room basically a flawless mirror image, Lee Hyun wonders out loud if they finally 100%ed the challenge. The whole room sits in total silence, showing off an arrangement that perfectly matches the system's prompt. Even after sweating to match the flower vases, absolutely zero gears or doors are triggering in the room. Realizing they're missing a step, Jin Daeon mutters in focus mode that the puzzle isn't over, pointing out the paintings are still totally different. Taking her hint, our guy walks up to the painting on his wall, and the blue panel confirms it's a piece showing a sick red sunset behind a field. Looking at her own canvas, the girl reports her version has exactly 0 trees in it, making the student panic over the detail he totally missed. Staring at the art, Jin Daeon thinks out loud that maybe the strat isn't to find 2 identical paintings to hang up. Listening to her brainstorm, the student's eyes go wide as a huge light bulb goes off, and he yells out all hyped that he finally cracked the mechanic. Looking toward the double doors, he confidently explains the golden rule of the room is absolute map symmetry, and the painting is just bait to mess them up. Without wasting a second, the guy grabs the frame tight, saying if the image is breaking the main rule, they just need to cancel it out. Using some muscle, he flips the artwork backward against the wall, hiding the landscape and turning the item into a blank block, so it doesn't ruin the symmetry. But the second the frame flips, Lee Hyun gets a massive shock seeing his own reflection. Realizing the back of the painting was hiding a huge mirror. Totally stunned by the plot twist, he calls out how crazy that detail is, while his partner uses her new item to fix her hair and shamelessly hype herself up. Seeing her laughing and checking herself out in the middle of a survival game, the guy gets super annoyed, wondering what on earth she's doing at a time like this. To get back on track, he does a fake cough to get her attention, declaring the room's setup is basically flawless with the mirrors facing out. Checking out the 2 frames on opposite walls, he remembers the furniture placement was close, but there was still one massive difference: soft, locking the door. Looking like a total try-hard gamer, the student calls the girl's name to drop the final play. Immediately, they both stand up straight right in front of their mirrors, with her asking if this is the right pose. Staring through the glass splitting the room, he figures out the last 2 pieces of the puzzle that didn't match were literally him and his duo. The exact millisecond their positions match perfectly, the exit's double doors let out a loud click and unlock themselves in the dark. Flashing a huge winner's smile, the guy celebrates internally for figuring out the trick required using their own character models to balance out the player count on both sides. Actually impressed by his high IQ play, Jin Daeon praises the solve, but still takes the opportunity to troll him, calling him just a clueless creep. Totally burnt out from her roasting, the student turns the doorknob with a heavy sigh and begs her to drop the cringe nickname. Just as he's about to step out, the girl's serious voice echoes through the room, telling him to wait up. Peeking through the cracked door, the guy notices the next hallway, which should be empty, is completely covered in old books trashed all over the dark floor. In the middle of the shadows of the new zone, the terrifying glow of a single eye slowly appears, showing that the creepy monster patrolling the school is camping right there. Peeking around the doorframe, Lee Hyun tracks the movement outside. A gross, dark hand rests on the stacked books on the floor. Our MC realizes it's the exact same guard from earlier and gets super salty about getting targeted. Totally stressed, he wonders why the heck the boss is already aggroed on him when he hasn't even done anything wrong yet. But luckily for him, the creature turns around and starts pathing away from the exit. Calculating the stealth route in his head, the student figures he can sneak by if he times it perfectly. Playing it super safe, he takes his first step, walking on eggshells between the scattered books. Right then, his foot kicks a can on the floor, triggering a loud metal clank that echoes down the hall. Instantly, the mutated guard snaps its head around with its eye glowing red, locking its aggro straight onto our guy. Panicking over the busted stealth check, Lee Hyun screams at Jin Daeon to run for it first. The creature rushes him with pure rage, yelling that intruders can't hang out in the school after hours. Backpedaling as fast as he can, the dude tries to warn his partner about the enraged boss, The guard lunges forward, winding up an attack to send the boy back to the lobby for good. In the middle of the absolute chaos, the student's eyes lock onto a tiny detail. A keyring is shining, dangling right on the monster's belt, completely stealing his focus. Dodging the heavy swing, the student rolls across the floor, totally committed to grabbing that loot no matter what. He keeps crawling through the books, framing through attacks, while locked onto his target. Right then, Jin Daeyeon casually opens the door and asks what the heck he's doing rolling around down there. The girl says she's gonna camp outside and tells him to juke the monster already so they can leave. Seeing his window, Lee Hyun slides right under the monster's hitbox. With a quick swipe, he reaches out and successfully snags the keys clipped to the monster's uniform. The guy falls back into a sitting position in the dark, confirming he secured the high-tier loot. Furious about the disrespect, the guard does a wild spin, throwing a massive heavy attack right at him. Taking the hit, our MC gets knocked backward, feeling the insane knockback of the strike all over his body. He recovers quick, planting his knees on the ground while staring down the incoming wipe. Spotting the perfect opening to run, he burns his stamina, hyper-focused on not dropping the ball right now. The monster totally cancels its attack animation, realizing its inventory just got robbed. Noticing it got pickpocketed, the guard lets out an ear-piercing roar of pure aggro at the player. Sprinting as fast as his character model allows, Lee Hyun yeets the keyring right at his duo. Showing off some smooth mechanics, Jin Daeyeon catches the item mid-air while watching her partner's desperate escape. Checking the item, the girl tells him to dash straight for the science lab and not even look back. Completely out of breath from the sprint, the guy angrily wonders why the RNG is always this bad for him. Behind him, the creature actually trips on the messy book pile and wipes out on the floor, giving him a huge gap to escape. The monster's face twists into a terrifying expression, super thirsty to get payback on the student. Dashing down the hall, Lee Hyun is 100% sure he could never pull off that pickpocket strat ever again. Hitting the lab's double doors, he collapses panting, while Jin Daeyeon drops a sarcastic joke about how hard he's trying to not hit game over. Gasping for air, the guy snaps back that he hates resetting his save file way more than taking an L. Wasting zero time, he pulls the handle, throwing the door open so they can both rush into the safe zone. Inside, he stares at a wall poster showing a picture of the security guard and thinks about the insane threat level outside. The windows tint black instantly, signaling the room's safe zone barrier is fully active. Letting out a heavy sigh, our MC realizes with relief that the boss can't bypass this door's lock. In the center of the room, a creepy anatomical model grabs his attention, with the system pinging that a piece is missing. Getting a massive jump scare from the spooky prop, the guy lets out a silent scream, super salty that he literally gets zero chill time. Watching him stress, Jin Daeyeon casually suggests they just complete the model's empty slot. Taking the quest, the student starts looting the desks covered in gear, hunting for the missing item. The blue panel highlights some test tubes and a cabinet stuffed with chemical reagents. The system confirms he looted portable sulfuric acid, making the guy seriously question if this is safe to keep in his inventory. Staying focused on the loot run, he keeps checking every single desk drawer in the dark. Touching something super slimmy, the dude pulls it out and gets a pop-up saying he looted a heart. Jin Daeyeon sneaks up to inspect the organ, making Lee Hyun scream in panic asking if someone dropped their actual heart. Shaking like crazy, he thinks it's absolute madness that someone just forgot a chunk of a body laying around. Staring at the transparent dummy in the middle of the room, he connects the dots on the shape of the empty slot. Nearby, a tiny metal key is just chilling at the bottom of a glass beaker. His duo casually picks up the flask, announcing she just found the key to unlock the next wing of the lab. Pushing through the gross factor, the student slots the heart into the anatomical model, getting a success ping from the system. Totally disgusted by the squishy texture, he realizes with horror that he's gonna have to grind this out for all the organs. Searching the shelves, he finds jars with tiny fish and mentions how surprisingly chill they look. His partner holds up a jar with a massive frog inside, super curious when she realizes the mob is actually still animated. While she trolls around asking the frog to go for a walk, our guy questions how its server hasn't timed out yet. Taking a step back, he spots dozens of jars with glowing eyeballs and totally panics over the live mobs. Getting back to the creepy scavenger hunt, the guy reaches up to check the top shelf of the dusty rack. Right then, A massive, slimy lung drops directly onto his head, with the system casually stating it's just a normal crafting material. Screaming like an absolute maniac, he jokes about the item's durability while guaranteeing his own sanity meter is completely depleted. Ignoring her partner's meltdown, Jin Daeyeon taps on a glass cabinet and tells him to check out that corner. Wiping the slime off his head, Lee Hyun turns around half, stunned to see what she's pointing at. He notices the silhouette of a whole person inside the display case and gets freaked out by the insane graphics quality. Trying to cope by saying it's just a mannequin, he stutters nervously, but the girl pushes him to get closer, staring at the glass side by side. The guy complains that putting a real character model in there is way crossing the line of acceptable game design. The student checks out the NPC's outfit and points out with some interest that it's the school's retro uniform. Dead center in the locked case, a tiny glow pulses in the hands of that creepy figure. The girl quickly calls out that the NPC is holding something, which our guy spots at the exact same time. Acting totally casual, Jin Daeyeon just orders him to stick his hand in there and grab the mystery loot. The student stares at the glass with a totally deadpan face, quietly admitting he already knew he'd get stuck doing the dirty work. After pulling off the loot grab, he snags the prisoner's diary, dropping lore about a courage test in an ancient graveyard. Reading the old notes, Lee Hyun is shook to realize this school was literally using real players as sacrifices back in the day. Exhausted from all the lore drops, Lee Hyun complains that the school devs really threw in every messed up feature they could think of. He quickly tells his duo they already grabbed the quest item and need to log out of this room ASAP. But before they can even turn around, a grotesque red hand violently smashes the glass of the display case. The sudden shatter echoes through the lab, totally canceling any chance of a stealth exit. The creepy silhouette pushes through the broken cabinet, landing super heavy on the floor. At that moment, our guy and Jin Daeyeon step back in absolute shock, realizing the mystery NPC was an active mob this whole time. Covered in broken glass, the zombie wearing the retro school uniform lets out a terrifying roar. The vibe goes fully toxic as the boss locks its empty eye right onto the players, completely ready to launch a high-damage phase.